What a win for the Boston Celtics. An amazing game. The atmosphere was electric. Derrick White, incredible. The Celtics holding on, executing down the stretch. A gritty win right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT. Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics. And I talk about them every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts like this Saturday night when they play the Minnesota Timberwolves. And hopefully it's another win. I'll have a free podcast for you after that. They're all free. They're available everywhere. They're on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Celebrate this one because it's worth celebrating with your fellow everydayers, the people who are with me every Monday through Friday. You got to become one of those. I'm John Karalis. John Karalis. That's how I pronounce my name. Beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've been doing this job for 20 years. I've been doing this podcast for 10, and I've written a couple of books about the team. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Drop a $5 bet. If it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. This was an incredible win. Later on in the third segment, I'll talk about how this went. I think not exactly according to plan for Joe Mazzulla, but I think we're starting to see a little bit of what he was talking about when you have games where you're not rebounding well. And the Celtics still did not rebound particularly well. We'll get into some individual stuff, Jaylen Brown, all of that in the second segment. Let's just start with the celebration. What an incredible win. 117-114. The Celtics, it was a tough one. They fought hard throughout this whole game from start to finish. And by the time it was over, and Celtics fans, that third free throw, ball don't lie, Cade Cunningham's third free throw misses, and he misses a chance to tie the game. The crowd erupted. This was an incredible crowd. Jaylen Brown after the game said this was our best crowd of the season. And yeah, absolutely. This was the best game of the season. Not a lot to choose from. First of all, the Celtics are 10-8 now, which is nice. So 18 games. The Celtics haven't had a lot to cheer about. Their execution in late games has been less than impressive. So to get this win, to hold on and to hold off a team at the top of the East. It's funny that these teams have switched roles, right? The Pistons come in on a big winning streak. They're the top seed. They're supposed to win this game by, a comfortable margin. I don't think anybody had, even if you had faith and you say, no, I think the Celtics could win. I still think that most people in the back of their minds would say, yeah, but if they lose, I understand. The Pistons looked like early on, like it was going to follow a script. But the Celtics didn't give in. They, like I said, that fourth quarter, they found plays mainly off the hands of Derrick White. And it wasn't exactly perfect execution down the stretch. I'll be fair. But they held on and they win. The crowd was, like I said, electric. So you go back to the first quarter here. And it felt like, first of all, the Celtics were missing everything. And it just felt like the Celtics were really, really working hard to get their offense, just to generate some shots. And they would get a decent look and it would miss. There was one play where Derrick had a left corner three, missed. He runs along the baseline, gets to the right corner. The Celtics get an offensive rebound. Derrick gets the ball back, right corner three, miss. And then I want to say maybe it was Minot in the middle of the lane. They get another offensive rebound. He takes a little below the free throw line jumper, that misses. And then the Pistons get it. Fast break down the court. I forget who it was. It got a dunk. Might have been Cade Cunningham or Jalen Duren. But it was just, that was the way I thought the game was just going to keep on going. that, okay, work hard, miss a makeable shot, get your offensive rebound, miss a makeable shot, get another offensive rebound, miss a makeable shot. It was just decent look, work hard. Oh, here come the Pistons. Boom, one rebound, go down, score. You're like, oh God. And that could be demoralizing. That could be something that, like, if you're on the Celtics and you're like, God, man, we had 3-4 shots here, and then they finally get the ball and they score like right away. But the Pistons never could quite pull away in this game. They did have a 10-point lead at one point, but they never got that separation. And then the second quarter comes around, and Baylor Scheierman changes this game. Baylor changed this game in the second quarter. He hit left corner three. He hit the Payton Pritchard drive down the middle, spin, fade away from like 14 feet. I think he has to pay Pritchard some, residuals on that move, but that's okay. Pritchard stole the step through from Jaylen Brown, so I guess turnaround was fair play. But Joe Mazzulla highlighted two plays after the game. This one from Payton Pritchard, from Baylor Scheierman, in the midst of this 9-0 run, the Celtics force a miss. It gets batted around. Baylor dives at like the top of the key-ish area, bottom of the logo, dives for the loose ball, and as he's on the floor, spins around and flips it behind his back. Was an awesome pass in that situation. Very, very high court awareness, very high, just a very smart play. Gets it up to, who was it? It was Amari Williams. And now Amari gets blocked, and it was an incredible defensive play. But you had Anthony Simons there for an offensive rebound. He kicks it back to, I think it was Minot, who gets fouled. And just the hustle. The fans, once they realized it was a foul call on the Pistons, they started to rise up and just give Baylor and the Celtics this kind of little bit of juice. This was the beginning of, oh, okay, these guys are really going after it. And Baylor was really going after it. And the crowd starts to get into it like, okay, we're going to do the gritty thing. We're going to do the lunch pail thing. We're going to do the blue collar thing. Let's go. We're here for it. And then a couple minutes later, actually it was about, that play happened around 10 something, 4:50 to go in the second quarter. Derrick gets a steal. So Sam Hauser misses a right, hash mark above the break three. Jaden Ivey gets it and goes, and he's ready to go. It was basically 1-on-3, but he was going to go 1-on-1 and attack Jaylen Brown. And then there goes Derrick White. Boom, 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 boom. He puts his head down. It's like he gets like thin, and he just puts his head down. And he just aerodynamically runs down the floor. If he didn't shave his head, he probably wouldn't make these plays. But I'm going to say that the bald head makes him a little more aerodynamic, and he's making these chase down steals. I'm not biased by this at all. He makes the chase down steal, turns around, gets the ball, comes back up, fires an alley-oop to Josh Minot, who fumbles it, but somehow he guides it into the rim. So it kind of a lucky play, because as he was running back, he kind of shrugged and did that. That play gets the crowd really hyped. So you have Baylor's hustle play and Baylor keying a 9-0 run, and then Derrick making that chase down play. And the Celtics at that point, they were down 5 at that point. But after that chase down play, the Celtics were plus 8, I think, the rest of the way after that chase down. And the crowd was into it. And Joe highlights, like, as much as whatever I'm going to talk about next, when we were asking Joe after the game, he's like, it wasn't even about the execution. It was about our grit. It was about our want to. And this is really impressive, because the Celtics are coming off of a lost to the Nets. And then after the loss to the Nets, they have this big lead against Orlando. And then the fourth quarter, it all goes away. And we were talking about it. Tom Westerholm and I were talking about the loss-ish win. So you have two games now where the vibes aren't great. And they come into this one and they withstand a tough first quarter where they couldn't hit a thing. And the Pistons made it look easy. And they get this contribution from role players, and I'll get to more of the role players, the supporting cast next. Derrick, before he started hitting shots, in fact, during the ESPN broadcast, they were like, Derrick White not letting his offense affect his defense. Little did they know what was coming. That just resilience, that's resilience from this team. To just lock in mentally after two games, after a disappointing game and a disappointing finish, even though it was a win, that is how you're supposed to do it in the NBA. Put that stuff out of your head, come back, focus, lock in, and whoever's out there, just be out there ready to play. Let's talk about the supporting cast. A lot of supporting cast did a lot of good things. That is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Oh, we are smacking the NBA season now. You should have been here in this arena to watch this game, and there's no better place to get in on the action quite like FanDuel. If you can't be in the arena, you can have some of that excitement at home. You want to ride the hot hand like Derrick White in the second half? FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score to the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push like the Celtics did. If you're a new customer, you make your first $5 bet, you get $300 in bonus bets if that bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up. Play your game with FanDuel. When you sign up, they will ask you to set your limit, set your budget. Please do that, right? Set whatever that disposable income is. If it's 50, if it's 100, whatever it is, whatever you can afford to lose, because we've all gone on cold streaks, whatever you can afford to lose, that's what you set your limit at. FanDuel will help you gamble responsibly. So head on over there. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Thanks for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. So the number one Celtics podcast in the world, the number one sports podcast network in the world. It's all right here for you, Monday through Friday. Like I said, bonus podcasts like Saturday when they play against Minnesota. So subscribe, become an every... As I hit the wrong button, join me. I own up to that stuff, and I don't even edit it out because this is what happens. This is real live podcasting. Join me there. It's free. Show's free everywhere, every day. So check it out. Okay. Derrick White was incredible in the second half. Finally, we talked about like Derrick having some carryover and like getting on a heater. We haven't seen this kind of heater. And Joe, after the game, said, I was excited. I'm always excited when Derrick's going through one of these things because I know that when he comes out of it, it's going to be something like incredible. Second half, Derrick, 7 of 10, 6 of 8 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line, 25.6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals in the second half. Just incredible. Every time the Celtics needed a bucket, every time the ball left Derrick's hand, that thing went in. He did the pocket full of threes. It was just classic Derrick White at his absolute peak best. This was hopefully a springboard to Derrick playing better across the board and maybe stacking some of these up. Derrick was incredible. They do not win this game without Derrick White. He was the one that was hitting these fourth quarter shots, these bombs from 3. Look, the math is the winner of this game. The Celtics lost they lost all of the margins. When we look at total shots, Celtics lost total shots. Celtics lost free throws. They always lose free throws. Rebounding, offensive rebounding, points. They won points off turnovers, which is good, but they lost second chance points. They lost points in the paint. They lost fast break. No, they won fast break points by 1. They lost a lot of these margins. Like I said, the shot margin that they look for, but 20 of 43 from 3. Finally, the Celtics get a big performance from 3. The Pistons shoot 11 of 36. That difference right there, 9 3-pointers, 27-point difference. In a game that they won by 3, they were -8 at the free throw line. They were -9 at the in second chance points. So that's -17. And then they were 27 plus, 27. So that right there makes up for a huge gap, the 3-point shooting. And that was Derrick White overall. He was 6 of 11. You had Payton Pritchard, 4 of 7. This is like a decent game for Payton Pritchard. It's kind of like forgotten. Baylor Scheierman had the 3 of 5. Minot was 2 of 3. I don't know. Minot's form just looks, but it's been going in. So what can I say about that? The shots fell. The supporting cast in this was huge. Obviously, I've talked about Scheierman. Amari Williams. This is an interesting one because Amari Williams comes in, plays 15 minutes. You look at the box score and you say, okay, 15 minutes for Amari. He missed a free throw. So he was 1 for 2 from the line. He had 3 rebounds, 2 blocks, which is good, was a -10. You'd say, well, he didn't do anything. I disagree. If you watch this, I think Amari was good, like solid. He had some nice plays at the rim. I think he got called for a couple of cheap fouls. I thought for a two-way guy coming in to have this kind of night was really impressive. Jaylen said it like he was really impressive. Like he hasn't been around. There were a couple of plays where the timing was off. You're like, okay, this is to be expected. But he was there making key plays. I think it should have been 3 blocks. They called one a goaltend. I don't know if that was really a goaltend or not. But regardless, he's there making these plays. And like it's one game, so I'm not going to overreact. But it's one game that makes me want to see a second game from him. And let's see what's he got. I think he's, from what I've seen so far, a decent player. He's a big guy. The Celtics need big guys. He's obviously shown his passing. We knew that coming in, and he's shown some of it over in with the main Celtics. So I don't know. Let's see a second one. Why not? Let's see what he can do against Minnesota. There was no Nemish Queta in this game, and so they went with Garza in the starting lineup. Williams matched up with Jalen Duren for a while. I thought he did an okay job. The Celtics went small for a long time, which involved Minot and Walsh and Scheierman. And so that's something that we talked about. But when it comes to Williams, let me just wrap up my point about Williams. A guy that big and athletic, the Celtics could kind of use him, and Garza was not effective. I didn't think he was going to be effective coming into this. So they went with him. It didn't work really that well. I'm not saying that Amari Williams is already better than Luka Garza, but I want to see if the next data point pushes us in that direction, because it's something that I want to say, and I don't think it would be irresponsible to just come out and say that now, but I'm putting a push pin in the corkboard. I've wrapped my yarn around it, and now I want to see, where's that next push pin going? Is it trending up, or is it going to trend down? That's what I want to see. So he was good enough in this game that makes me want to see more from him. And let's see where does he end up in all of this. But the rest of the supporting cast was obviously really good. Like Minot, they went small in the second half a lot with Minot at center. And Joe talked about this gave us some cross matches. And defensively, I thought we battled. And this is an interesting thing. It almost forced us to have a heightened awareness to the physicality that's necessary to be able to play. And I thought we did the best job we could on the offensive glass through those stretches. So what Joe was saying there is we went small and everybody in the court was like, oh God, we're small. We really got to work hard to crash the glass and do all these physical things because we're too small. Otherwise we're going to get crushed. And almost in a kind of like reverse psychology way, Joe was like, yeah, the small ball lineup it snapped everybody's focus into place. Like they didn't sit there and say, oh, we got this big dude. We just rely, go big dude, go do big dude things. Go grab ball, block ball, give me ball. Like that's, very caveman thinking. But the Celtics said, "Oh no, we got to be galaxy brained. We're too small. We got to really focus." And so I don't know, go small more. We talked about this. Tom and I talked about this on yesterday's podcast or the day before. Like go small. Yeah, without Kata, go small. Let's see what that gives you. You know what? Just maybe you just do that more often anyway, because if you want to play fast, you promised us faster basketball. Maybe that's the way you just do it. Maybe you don't even bother with the size. You say, you know what? We're just going to play small and faster, and let's just go with that and make that our identity. Let's just do it. Why not? But it worked. The supporting cast, from top to bottom, aside from Luka Garza, who was not really good, but Jordan Walsh was in there early, was rebounding really well. Hauser, did a good job. Like everybody did a good job in like little stretches, right? Ugo got 6 minutes, but he had a couple of possessions there. You're like, okay, yeah, this is good defense or rebounding or making the right play. So they all did a great job. I haven't even talked about Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown had 33 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He was pretty good. We'll talk about him and how I think this, maybe not according to plan, but gave us the concepts of a plan. That is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. We got people dropping 50-point games all over the place, which is something that's good for you if you're watching the game and you got Dash Pass. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something they call the bag drop. What it is when somebody plays, when a player scores 50 points in a game, which has happened multiple times. It's happened a lot already this season. First of all, DoorDash drops a 50% off offer. If you've got Dash Pass the next day, you're automatically going to get this 50% off your order using Dash Pass the next day. And then you're also automatically entered for a chance to win the Ultimate Fan Bag. That has player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, stuff that you actually want. There's not just food. You've got snacks, drinks, headphones, ice, all delivered whenever you want. DoorDash has you covered for late-night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double OT fuel-ups. When someone goes off for 50, use the promo code NBA50 the next day in the Dash Pass, in the DoorDash app with Dash Pass. NBA50, that gets you 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game. You got to use the promo code NBA50. Plus, you're automatically entered for your shot at the bag drop. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. I encourage you to go check out Locked On NBA Game Nights. I do host on Wednesdays, so check out Game Night. It's every game covered in the association, so that'll keep you up to date 7 days a week on Locked On NBA. Game Night Locked On NBA has you covered during the week, Monday through Friday, on all the big topics, so check that out on the same feed. Jaylen Brown was really good, as usual. He's not the most efficient night, okay? It was not an efficient night. 33 points on 32 shots. Not the best night in the world as far as efficiency, but he was there. Second quarter, he was really important when the Celtics were trying to hold on, just trying to stay close. He was a very important part of that. 12 points in the second quarter. And if you, like, I tweeted this out, the box out at the end of the game when Cade missed the last free throw, he had Isaiah Stewart and he boxed them out all the way to like the opposite elbow. That could have easily been a foul on Stewart too. And I think like that was just a really good play by Jaylen. Jaylen did, made just key plays, hit big shots. This is an all-NBA season for him. But that box out was really great because that helped Pritchard swoop in and get the rebound, and that ended the game. I'm just going to say this since we're talking about the free throw. I'm going to put it here. And I can say this now because the Celtics won. I think Joe Mazzulla actually agreed with me because he said this was timed perfectly by Cade Cunningham. I know that people were upset that the call on that foul for Cade was initially called on the floor, and then in comes Tony Brothers, and he changes the call. I understand 100% why everybody was angry at that. But I think the call was correct. The call was correct because this is why when people say you don't foul when someone is facing the basket, because they can do that. Every time there's a 3-point lead and an opportunity to foul, you'll hear the broadcaster say, you foul him with his back to the basket because there's no way he's going to turn around and fire up a shot. So that's not going to be a shooting foul. But if he's facing the basket, when you go to reach in, he will rise up to shoot. Cade Cunningham is like early MVP candidate. He is incredibly good. He's a smart player. When he knew the Celtics were trying to reach in and foul, he gathered and went up for the shot. And there were like 3 seconds left. And that is, you taking a heave with 3 seconds left. That's feasible, right? It's not like someone felt the contact, then gathered and went up. He was gathering as the foul was happening. So smart play by Cade. And I know I think we can rationally discuss this now because the Celtics didn't lose. And even if he hit that free throw, it would have been for a tie. The Celtics still had time, could have gone to overtime. So we don't know what would have happened. It wouldn't have been a loss at that point. I just wanted to put it out there that was actually the correct call. So don't hate me. The Celtics won. I'm glad they won. I think that was kind of like a bad play by the Celtics, and they might have gotten away with one before because everybody, like, we were looking at each other like those two fouls were very close on the 3-point, the 2-3, up 3 fouling to force the 2 free throws. Got to be careful on those plays. All right, my final thing, when I say according to plan, Mazzulla has said constantly that the way you deal with the Celtics the defensive rebounding problems, and that is still a problem. The Pistons had 21 offensive rebounds. So they got a ton of offensive rebounds. It didn't kill the Celtics. It hurt them. It didn't kill them. Because the Celtics were able to do the other things. He always says, you got to be better at the defensive rebounding, but we're never going to be great. So you're going to do the other things. Force turnovers, get points off turnovers, crash the boards on the other end, put up your own second chance points. And the Celtics, for a while, it was a lot closer, but I think there were a couple of opportunities at the end that the Pistons kind of cashed in on. But the Celtics' second chance points, even though they gave up 21 offensive rebounds, 27 second chance points for the Pistons. That could have been much worse. And the Celtics had 18, so they minimized that. They kept that to within 9. The points off of turnovers, the Celtics got 20 points off of 13 turnovers while giving up 15 points off of 13 turnovers, so they're plus 5 there. It wasn't perfect. Like the whole point of it is to get more shots than the other team. and they didn't do that. But this is the beginnings of when Joe Mazzulla says we got to do these other things to mitigate the rebounding issues. This is kind of what he's talking about. And I think earlier in the game, it was a much starker, more accurate example. It kind of slipped a little bit over the course of the game. But when the Celtics are not rebounding well defensively, you got to crash the boards and mitigate that with your own offensive rebounds. And so I think the Celtics were able to kind of do that and keep the game close enough for them to do the other things that they needed to do to win. Now, one of the other things they needed to do to win was shoot well, and they hit 23 pointers to the Pistons 11, and that, you could look at that and say, well, that's where they won the game. And yes, that's where a lot of these games are won and lost, at the 3-point line. But the Celtics did enough of the other things where they weren't so crushed by the rebounding and weren't so crushed by second chance points that you'd look at a 20-point, 3-point shooting night and say, how did you lose that game? Oh, because you gave up 40 second chance points. Like that's not where you want to be. So good job by the Celtics for doing some of these other things. Still nowhere near perfect, still nowhere near even good enough to rely on that consistently. But you start to see the semblance of, okay, this is what Joe is talking about. If you do this, then you're going to give yourself a chance, even when this one thing is not great. In fact, horribly bad. So it's early. It's 18 games. We're seeing it. We're seeing some of the stuff that Joe's been talking about starting to come around and come to fruition, which is great. This is progress. Look, you lose to the Nets, you beat the Pistons. You lose to the Jazz earlier this season, you beat the Cavs. So the Celtics are kind of where they're supposed to be. After 18 games, 10 wins, 2 games above 500, they're getting to where they need to be. The 44, 45 wins, they're kind of on pace for that. Now that's going to probably change, but as Tom and I were saying in a previous podcast, the more of these games that you can steal, the less pressure you put on yourself later on in the season to win if you want to make a move for, a playoff spot. So you got Minnesota and Cleveland on the back-to-back. Can you steal one of these games? Very curious to see how they do against Minnesota now, because maybe the small ball can be something that bothers the Timberwolves. You put Rudy Gobert on skates, have him, guard out in the perimeter. Maybe that's now this thing that they're doing. Maybe that's a way to combat what another team's strengths are. They're a big team in Minnesota. Try it again. Let's see how it goes. So I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, but I will be back. I'll be working. I'll be rewatching the game. I will shake off my, whatever food coma I'm in to kind of take another look at this and talk more about this game. This one podcast isn't going to do enough to cover this game. There are plenty of littler things, smaller things that I will have to talk about in the next podcast to properly give this game everything that it deserves. So I'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you are back tomorrow to talk about this, to celebrate this a little bit more as we dig a little bit deeper. But great win. Obviously the best win of the season so far. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This show is free. It's available everywhere. You can watch it on YouTube. Get into the comments section there. Share your thoughts with me, with your fellow everydayers, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.